Every day I'm snuffling.
I found the piano sound.
I'm shuffling. Doc Ock is our dude. He can do it. No
It's
one's
the Doc
screwed.
Ock.
The putting a music box on a thing of redstone is the piano.
So, if
someone do that
anybody's
for-
wondering what the dude is, that is our featured patron of the week as we build this 64 by 64 by 64 block.
Go ahead, Tony.
I already did. I'm done. I made it less long-winded.
Slow
Efficiency.
burn. Okay.
Efficiency. Also, 3, 2, 1.
Ooh. So I think
Whoa.
someone was mucking about with this because I didn't put that on redstone, did you?
I did.
See?
I was mucking about.
Well, you can see what everything's on, dude. I like that.
Yeah.
Who wants to go to sleep so it's daytime?
I'm inside the nether, so I'm good.
Who's in the nether?
I'm going to a bed.
Yeah, same here.
Alright. I'm sleepy.
You... Okay, there we go. I'm in.
Ah, no.
Are you humping him?
Maybe?
Yeah, unfortunately.
This
Nice.
is a weird position, but yes, I guess that's what was happening.
It's like that onion quote that I always talk about.
What?
I
Onions
thought I
can't
saw
speak,
it.
Tony. Hate to break it to you.
I thought I saw an angel once,
Did this
but it was
get
actually
fixed
my
yet?
uncle masturbating over me in a druid cloak.
You've never said that before.
I'm pretty sure I've said that on the nether.
I don't
It
think
might have
so.
been whenever you were, like, gone, though. You were, like, nursing your injuries for a month.
I don't think... No, I'm with Joe here. I don't remember ever hearing that.
Is that the,
Joe's also never told a story about him going to, like, a wrestling match. It was really awesome. Sometimes I sit and
That's
think...
boxing.
What?
It was boxing, not wrestling.
Oh! Joe, we were making our death layer.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm going.
Yay.
Oh, I remember.
Death layer.
So what are you guys working on?
Nothing?
Whatever we want.
I was thinking about this, and it might just be all spiders inside.
Oops, all
it's like-
spiders.
It's like Sandra
Broken.
Bullock.
That's
All
the new,
spiders.
Did
Yeah,
you
it
put up
tricks-
that? Did you put up that sign?
I put up
You,
signage. I can't see it.
New cereal from Obvious Plant on Twitter.
I can hear it.
Oops, oh. Another set of crunch berries.
Are we going down first?
Where are you? I can't find
Broken
I can't tell if
XP
I messed up my
farm.
steps or if somebody else messed up my steps, but I'm
Broken
very
ass
disturbed
XP
right now.
farm. I can hear him.
you. Oh, you're downstairs. Oh, no, here it is. Yes.
I can hear somebody laughing. Who laughs?
That's terrifying. No
witches.
one laughs.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they
that's-
do laugh.
yeah.
They cackle. I mean, I
was a
call
test.
that a laugh.
It's more like,
Behind this block. Nope. Nothing spawned. Or something spawned and it's up there, but it hasn't fallen yet.
sometimes the
You guys
spiders
have
laugh too.
AFK for long enough.
We haven't been nearby. I think if they fall down. Oh, okay.
You have to be in the chunk, right?
Yeah, but not too close. I think
What
we have to be
laughs?
hanging out up top for a bit.
Oh, they
Why is
see
there
me
a
now.
trough
Oh
here?
God,
I
Jesus!
like that you've built a thing that requires you to just stand still.
Why
for
did you do this?
What is that?
This is the exact opposite. They're
I just-
farming us. We have to put that block back, or else
Soylent
they're gonna
Green
be
is
able
made
to
of people.
fall into the thing.
It's a cookbook.
that what's-
Dumbledore kills Gay Snape.
Turns out, man is the real animal.
The real monster,
How do we
sir.
get them down here then?
I mean, if you're hanging out in this area, I think they come after you, or they just
He
naturally fall in.
didn't. He didn't see me until I was.
They naturally wander around, fall off the walls, and the water
You guys
pushes
don't
them
have
down.
a water thing?
No, we have a water thing.
I think they're standing on something that's not.
I think every XP farm needs a water feature.
It's very nice. It really ties it. They're standing
the
on
rim
something
like a-
that's not wood.
Like they're
sure.
not just on the water.
Yeah, there's a platform for them to spawn on, because they won't spawn on water. And then
kinda
they'll
funny
wander
because-
around and fall off the platform into the water will push them into that hole. But we need to wait and let them just sort of...
I was given a rug
Oh.
for the first time in my life, and I actually had the thought, this actually really helps the room.
Yeah.
You could say it ties it
The
together.
dude.
And
The
I was like,
dudeness.
now I understand the dude.
Duderino.
I'm a step
Some
closer.
of it's
Oh
stolen.
Jesus! Why the fuck did that happen?
What'd you do?
I fell. I don't know.
Is that what happens in that movie?
That's the thing that kicks everything off. He gets his
the
rug
gets
stolen.
No, not
Nick raided
stolen.
it.
They
happened
pee
to it.
on
I thought
it.
it was
They pee on
destroyed
it.
or something.
They pee on
Oh
it.
yeah.
They pee on
Yeah,
it.
they don't steal the rug.
But he
No,
sort
they
of steals
they
the
peed.
other one. He's,
They
Yeah.
peed on it because the other guy stole the rug, right?
No,
That was the
They want their
reprisals?
money.
Oh yeah, they want their money.
It's down there somewhere.
Lebowski. Your
Take a
bunny
look.
said that you're good for it.
What
That's
is the comment he
Scott's.
makes
man.
about the
That's
nihilists?
Scott's favorite movie.
I love that
So
movie.
I love that movie.
Wait, why did you break my clock? What'd you do?
it was really. I mean, I didn't break it. I just moved it here.
I think it's fascinating
Watch.
that the Coens can make such beautiful art about how nothing really matters.
Yep. Well, the nihilists aren't real. I mean, they're not real. Sorry. That didn't come out right. Deep thoughts with Joe. The nihilists, I don't think, are the people you're supposed to identify with in the movie. So, I
No,
would
but the
argue that.
Coens definitely are. Like, all
Why
of
is
their
this one
movies
not
are
showing?
about how sort of, like
Yeah, but in a beautiful way.
deep effort is futile, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
if
then
you
they-
have some grand overarching philosophy, somehow it's flawed. If you're working really hard to do something, you're probably going to fail at it. Yeah, that's like their whole shtick. That is nihilism.
No,
But
that's
they
why
are
they love
beautiful
No
about
Country
it. I
for-
mean, you're not wrong.
I think the beauty and the emotion. There's always the emotional connection at the end too, and I think that is not nihilism. I mean, maybe this is more just how we each define nihilism in our head. I think, but I think that
Well, so
the beauty itself, I think, makes them non-nihilists.
the fact that they think that beauty exists makes them not
Yeah.
nihilists.
And again, there's
Okay.
always an emotional connection at the end where, if it's Donnie's funeral or Maud in the car. Is it Maud in Fargo?
Yeah.
I forget the Maud in the car at the end. Just,
My main Fargo touchstone at this point is the TV show. Like
I agree with that. I had to think back there for a second.
I barely remember the movie. Not
God,
that I
the
saw
TV
it a
show
bunch
is
of times before.
So good. It's so good. Which one are you on?
I haven't seen 3 yet.
Can you make a
With the-
meat block?
Ian McGregor? Ewan McGregor?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I haven't
God.
seen the first. I don't know.
The last
Maybe I've seen all
last
of
scene
them.
I remember from that was when Billy Bob Thornton was telling Tom Hanks' son, Colin Hanks, I want to say, like
Yeah.
that he basically just needs to go away.
Interesting.
Like,
Yes.
and like this is the worst. Like sometimes you just pull over the wrong person. And I was like, I'm so hooked on the show, and then I never started again.
Billy Bob
happens.
Thornton is maybe the best like modern incarnation of the devil in that show that I can imagine.
Yeah, he's so good.
Oh my god, the third one is so good.
Like I
I can't remember
screw
this.
it.
Oh,
I'm
the
just
second
like,
one's the gang war, right?
The second
is it
one has
streaming
the
on
black
anything
dude
right now?
who has the aspiration
Mike
to be
Mulligan.
like a cowboy, Mike Mulligan. I love his ending. I don't know
Yeah.
if I
No,
don't
no,
want to
don't-
say
don't-
because
yeah,
somebody
don't-
might think it's a spoiler,
stop.
but I think about his ending there like once a month. Of
That was just also it's like a gang war of like the least people like the people you would least expect to be in a gang war ever. It's just like
Oh, that's so
it's like the
loud.
Mormons
it's
versus the
literally somebody's
cartels.
mom
Yeah.
as like the I'm forgetting the I don't know. I've never seen The Sopranos. Tony, like that's
Yeah.
the
Mob
Tony
boss.
Soprano character.
yeah.
I thought you were asking me a question directly about The Sopranos, not
No,
describing
no.
Tony Soprano.
I was trying to think of the. Well, I guess technically it's like Tony Soprano's had a stroke and like his wife, middle-aged wife, who's also a Midwesterner, has to run the show. Again,
There
I
was a
haven't watched
little
the
bit
show.
of that whenever he had a heart attack. No,
Yeah.
it wasn't a heart attack. He was shot, right?
He was
Or
shot.
both happened. Yeah, he was shot
I've
by
never
his
seen that show,
uncle
so
with,
thank you. I'm kidding.
oh.
I don't
Well, that's
actually
what
care.
I was
There's
gonna
no
say that is
spoilers.
20 years old.
Yeah, I don't care. It's okay.
It's so good though. Like it's still so good.
It's
You
good,
haven't
but it's
seen the
so
show
rough
come out. Do
around
you know
the
how it
edges.
ends?
Me?
I know how it ends.
I do not
know how it ends too. That's the point. Like I haven't seen it either. Have you asked most how The Sopranos ends yet?
No.
That's an interesting question because
I don't
that
care
one we
enough.
talked about ending
What
for the
happens?
wrong
remember-
reasons.
What happens?
Some people were just pissed off. Nothing really. He just sort
It's,
of
yeah, it's not a clear ending.
yeah.
Well,
They also
so
cut to, like,
people. yeah.
Black for a while.
Yeah, I thought there was something wrong with my TV. I was
Everyone
about to
thought there
call
was something wrong
Comcast.
with their TV.
They just
Andy
stopped
Kaufman
it?
does.
It was just the end?
Yeah, it just fades to black.
yeah.
I don't think
What?
it fades, right? It just
I
like
think it cuts.
it
Yeah,
cuts.
it cuts to black.
The prevailing theory that I've heard is that there's like it's from the point of view of a character who has died, and so because death is both sudden and like at least from the point of view of the show, there's nothing beyond it. Like they're just showing
That someone died.
that some right, and I mean it's
Who's the
subjective.
one that
Like you don't have
dies?
to. What?
That's the
Who's the
question.
person that dies?
Oh, the way I read it is that we got whacked. Really?
The viewer?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
We're the ones that died. We don't get to see.
It's unclear, Komet. It's very open to interpretation.
So there's
thing
no
is,
there's
like,
no climax. There's nothing.
There's a pretty good climax to that season. They wrap up so much in those last few episodes. Like one of the last episodes is called Made in America, and it's so good. And they just finished up so many of these different arcs.
The thing is, those arcs were going on poorly for a fairly long time at that point. It was a little annoying.
Yeah, so it was just time to end the show.
Yeah.
But they didn't give you a solid ending on what happened to certain characters, like that were in the Sopranos family, and you really wanted to know, but they left it ambiguous.
It was great, but looking back on it, it feels like TV's become so much tighter since then. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Back then, that was like, I mean, not it, but it was pretty much it as far as like great, well put together high-end dramas.
Well, you look at like The Wire started it. The Wire changed TV.
No, Sopranos was first.
I thought The Wire actually started a little bit before.
No, Sopranos was on for a long time. Sopranos was on when I was in college.
That's true. Well, what's weird is it was supposed to be like a show called Family Matters, and it was supposed to be a sort of comedy. And Fox was running it. Fox ran the pilot, and then HBO took over and turned it into a drama. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because if you look at the first season, there's a lot more slapstick humor that's happening. It stays funny throughout the series, but it was a lot more slapstick.
There should be humor in
first
mafia
season.
movies, yes.
Yeah. But also, like, James Gandolfini is one of the best actors that's ever
was so
been.
good.
Like, you
And
can
the
just
perfect
see
role.
what he's thinking the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel everything.
Yeah. Great show. But I actually, I've gone back and rewatched some of it. I'm sort of like, this is rough around the edges. It's great.
So do you think that like there were like peak television shows before that measure up to some of the stuff we have today? I mean, I hear people talk about MASH.
Drama,
back in the day.
I've never watched MASH, but I've heard. That might come close. That's a decent...
I know a
I've
lot
thought
of
about
people
watching it.
are going back and watching Frasier.
Frasier's
No,
great.
that's-
Well, are you talking comedy or drama?
I don't
Those very different
necessarily.
things.
Yeah, I feel like the comedy was able to get to better
Yeah.
levels before that point.
Comedy was very high, and, for...
And action shows definitely have taken a step up. Like you had
Yeah.
Xena and those sorts that were kind of fun, but they were never great. And now you've got like action shows and just
Yeah,
things that
action
You can
stand
always,
up.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can go all the way back to like the Twilight Zone, and that was now some of the special effects there were a little
action.
bit dodgy. No,
I
I'm not
think
talking
of-
about action. I'm saying like if we're not talking about comedy, like if we're saying
Twilight Zone
series.
is up there, but it didn't
on like
have
an episode-to-episode basis, though, Twilight Zone still stands up better than most of the movies of its time.
Yeah. Twilight Zone was great.
They put so much money into that show, though. Like that is something where like it was probably one of the bigger budget shows, like
Oh, no.
compared to everything else on TV. I can't
really
even
never
imagine
heard
how
much
much
about
more.
it. But it also, that's different than putting together a longer arc. Like, that's not Fargo.
No, that's a good point. There's a lot of good. I've started watching NCIS with my wife, and while on the one hand it's like, okay, I
Cheesy.
sort of know what's
Horrible,
going to
cheesy.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a certain point, like
got sucked
all of
into that at
the
one point.
episodes are pretty engrossing,
Yeah.
and it's like the modern day, like Sherlock Holmes thing.
Yeah.
Only on
It's
a much
procedural,
more-
though.
I did that with Blacklist for a while.
Ooh,
I got
wow.
like sucked
This is-
into that.
Yep.
I
watched
very
some of that.
rarely get sucked into those types of shows.
I like
I
Blacklist
got
a
annoyed with
lot.
Blacklist because they had because they had the overarching story stuff, and I was like, you guys are never gonna resolve this.
That bothers me now, and I know exactly why. It's because of Lost.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
absolutely shook my faith that anyone can wrap up anything ever. But those
Yeah.
are still procedurals, Al. I mean, there's a very big difference between a, Monster of the Week, even if they include bits and pieces of an overarching arc, and like if you watch
Yeah,
one
okay.
episode, again, not to go back to Fargo all the time, but you would be like, wait, what was that? Like, you really kind of have to watch the whole season. And in my head, anyway, why do we have two crafting
But when
blocks
you
now?
introduce a big arc in, again, to go back to NCIS, like they do wrap those up.
Yes.
There's not like, well, I mean, as far as, I mean, they've got like 10 seasons, so I'm on like season 3 with my wife, and I only watch occasionally. There's a guy that shows up in season 1 who's like a big bad guy, and they deal with him, I think, by the end of season 2, or certainly by mid-season 3. It's not like, well, he's gonna be out there forever as like the guy they never catch.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, in addition to that, though, there is the Monster of the Week that they do. There's a case, maybe there's a,
Yeah.
a to be continued once in a while. For me,
Fringe
that gets
did the
repetitive.
same thing,
and,
right?
Fringe
Yeah,
I think Fringe was better put together. than NCIS, but it also
Well,
didn't.
NCIS
I
is
was
also,
more, I
I
was
think
more thinking
it's
Blacklist.
more of I don't know, comfort food for me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. That's Law and Order for me. It's the same sort of thing. They'll have recurring villains that are sort of the big bads, but in a realistic-y way. But it's also like, every 45 minutes or so, you're getting a new plot, and
it's always interesting, and it's like, they've always, it's never just somebody from out of the blue who you've never seen before. They've always introduced the character at some point in those 45 minutes.
yeah. Yes.
I'm afraid to ask this, but if you were to watch like a random episode of Gilmore Girls, would you know what was going on, or is
Yes.
that something that you really need to go like serial with it?
Oh, no, you
yeah,
need to go serial. I
No,
would
you
know what's
don't.
going on. Yes, you do. 100%.
What do you
'Cause there's
mean?
always
Need,
a new
like
man.
know what's going on?
Like
If you were to
I'm
just
talking
jump
about,
into season 5, you'd be like, who the is Luke? Why is it important? Why is her doing a new indifferent? What's the dynamic? Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, I was just curious because
You would like, what do you mean?
a lot
Who
of
is
the-
Luke? The guy who plays Luke is an excellent character actor. You would get his
No.
character almost immediately from like something that happens early in the episode where he's like sparring with Lorelai or something. Like
I'm just trying to figure out because most of these like most shows that are on like CW and all that like can kind of go serial. It doesn't matter because they want
Ooh.
you to be able to pop in at any time.
Yeah, they
But
actually write
the
them
best
before that.
shows. Yeah, like whereas like HBO shows, they're intended to be watched like consecutively, almost entirely. Like you can't really jump into much Game of Thrones or Sopranos
the
or any of that.
stakes aren't as
I
high
don't-
in Gilmore Girls is the thing. So like,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
but
but
that woman's
still,
heart.
like,
You bastard.
what?
How dare you say that Lorelai's heart is not a high stakes game?
it's
Funny. That's really
I don't
funny.
even know if that's the right character.
It is. Good job.
Shot in the dark and it worked.
I mean, Game of
It's-
Thrones
it's
is
more
also not a fair
relationship drama.
comparison. That's just like, I don't think there's ever been more characters in a show than in that show.
Yeah, they're starting to pare them down a little bit.
Well, yeah, they started to
Are
burn
they?
down in season
they haven't
1.
pared anybody down in like several years.
I mean, I could throw names out there, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
They haven't paired anybody I care about down in several years. Although I've stopped caring about a lot of people at this point.
That's, yeah. That's where I got in season 2. I was like, everyone I like is gone. I don't like who's left.
It's not like that. It's just that like they've been around so long, and I know that they're not going to die.
You
But I
don't
don't
know
care
that.
anymore.
There's a lot of death coming this season.
Yeah,
Like they're
there is
finishing.
I think that's like the beautiful thing
I'm
about
actually
Game of
with Joe
Thrones
at
is
this
that
point. I'm like, I don't
they-
care enough to continue watching though to see it.
Yeah.
Because I've
That's
been
the-
burned by the
Think that.
previous
It's the-
season. It's not just that like nobody like. It's not about are people dying or not. I legitimately felt like the last couple seasons were so weak that like I don't need to tune in for the spectacle anymore.
I don't know. That's bizarre thinking. It's the best show that's ever been created, and you're calling it weak.
No, it's not.
It is easily the best show that's ever been created by a long shot. By
What do you think
miles.
is the greatest show ever created?
Not
then?
bad. That was
Okay,
just
give us
murder
an
porn.
example. Let's hear it.
The Wire, I think. Fargo's way up there. With the
I haven't
fucking-
seen The Wire, so I would
Beauty of
and
Fargo.
because we've been talking about Fargo, I would go to Fargo.
I can think on this for a bit though. And again, are we talking drama? Or are we talking?
Overall. Just overall.
I mean, if you want to caveat, like you could say best fantasy show ever created.
Okay, yes, that's easily.
Well, yeah, but there's like a lot of terrible stuff out there.
Yes,
whereas
there's a
like
lot of
there's a lot of
cop
terrible
dramas,
stuff in
there's
every
a ton of great
genre.
stuff.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of bad cop dramas too. You just don't remember them.
I remember all of them.
Yeah, Cop Rock.
Joe remembers Cop Rock. I
All the
was
ones I tried to watch,
in a
that
Reddit
stupid
thread
island
where they were
detective
talking
guy.
about Cop Rock, and I was trying to, explain like, hey, Stephen Bochco, he, did a lot of, he did Hill Street Blues and Doogie Howser, and like he was a really known quantity, and so they were excited to have him on. And sometimes you take risks, and risks by their nature are sort of, sometimes you swipe out, and the people on Reddit were like, nope, it's a stupid idea, it sucks, and like, there's
yeah.
no room for nuance on the internet, guys.
Well, that's what you
That's
go on to
Reddit.
Reddit to do.
Yeah.
Not having
Yeah.
that, or at least I think I know the thread you're talking about, and that was just like we want to just get a quick fix of ha ha ha, this guy's stupid. Like, there's probably a Cop Rock subreddit, maybe, or not probably actually, but there's conceivably some subreddit somewhere where people are like, let's discuss this more in depth. But yeah, people want to have their coffee and just
They've never,
chuckle.
like, you're gonna come into this where you've never heard of somebody before and be like, no, they're definitely stupid.
Yes.
Oh yeah, people do
that's-
that all the
it's easy.
time.
Because
Yeah.
I'm having my coffee and I just have 5 minutes to like chuckle before I get
That's
to
what
work.
I don't.
And I'm
that's why
pretty
I'm,
sure
like,
that you do
getting
that
burned
too,
out on
Al.
Reddit.
So
I can hear the
there are certain
gas around here,
subreddits-
but I don't see him. I don't know where he's
it's
at.
right next to the portal going to the arena.
So I found a place to mine, but now I have no idea where I am.
There are some subreddits about movies where
Hold on,
you have
no.
to put like a certain amount of characters and you have to put like full paragraphs and everything for every response. And it's interesting, but it's too much like talking to Al and it's infuriating.
Oh yeah, that would drive me crazy. No, thank you.
Having to have
It's
an
like-
in-depth
I'll do a
conversation.
hard
Yeah, I can
pass
understand
on
why that would drive me crazy. Come
On
on.
Reddit, yes.
Yes, on Reddit where it's like everybody's so divisive and they're just dropping stuff about like my favorite movies like they're garbage. And like I just want to hate you so much.
I go on Reddit to make people laugh and to laugh.
I look
Yeah.
at images on Reddit. That's about it. It's like my
Sometimes I
favorite
will
part.
go on, like, it also depends when. Like, again, when I'm hopping on it with my coffee and it's just like, alright, just want to do some stuff when, like, you know, the audio is rendering and or whatever. Sometimes I'll be on like Saturday night and I'll just be like really getting into the more of the in-depth stuff, though.
Yeah, like ask historians.
That's the beautiful
and
thing
stuff like
about
that
Reddit,
a lot
though,
more
is
fun.
that there's so many different things
Yes.
that you can really kind of do anything that you wanted to.
Why not sign up today? Our sponsors are... No, never mind.
I don't know. I love
Reddit
Reddit. I've
is
been on
definitely
Reddit
not
for
our
a
sponsor.
long
No.
time.
Well, it's for some things.
It's
I
hard
used to
to
enjoy
crack.
Reddit a lot more, and just I don't know.
It
I'm
comes in
angry
phases,
with
too.
Reddit
Like,
because
Cynical.
like we can't find any headway there. It's like if it's not a GIF, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
disagree.
yeah,
That
that's
is
so
Dwarf
not-
sad.
Fortress is
that's-
done perfectly well.
Yeah, but I'm talking
Not
about
where I'm
like
coming
for
from.
general gaming.
We conquered
Yeah.
general gaming with Dwarf Fortress. Everyone forgets that. Or doesn't believe
General
me, I guess, when I
gaming
say
just doesn't like
If you
me.
guys hear that, they're like, that can't be right.
It can't be. I don't believe it. Not for a second.
It's like if it didn't get us 5,000 hits, it didn't
What
happen.
is that?
I'm trying to think of other shows. I have to come back to Frasier again, too. It's just so clever. Such clever comedy.
Did you guys watch there's a thing on Netflix right now, and it's like the 90s. They go through all the different decades. Have you guys watched it?
Is that like
No.
they took it from CBS or whatever? I remember there was a.
MTV, I think. Did I like or VHS? Did I love the online? VH1?
No.
No,
It's,
like that's like
not-
a pop show.
Yeah.
Like CNN did have a limited series where they were doing like an hour documentary for all
Each
sorts of different
decade.
things. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if it. I don't know. I thought it was Netflix, but it might be one of. It
I
might
mean, it
be
could be
CNN.
on Netflix. I'm just saying.
It might be
I don't
BBC. They've
think
had,
No, it's-
Netflix has got a ton of BBC stuff coming in.
It is Netflix. Like I think it's made by like it's Netflix original. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
not-
it
it's
is
not that
on
much of a
Netflix
stretch.
also. But
Yeah, it's
anyways,
a-
they talk about how all the shows that you're talking about were extremely influential to how things kind of work today. So I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of
It's
interesting.
also, it's difficult to take things out of the their context.
I
You
was
know.
a little bit young for Frasier whenever it was like starting its run, but even as like probably being like 8 to 12 whenever I would just kind of watch it when it was on, it was still funny even at that level, and I imagine it's way better now.
It's so witty, and some of this again, like the
It always seemed kind of
Kelsey
dry
Grammer's
to
funny.
me, isn't it?
And a bit,
I gotta dig
Do they have a
dry.
laugh track on Frasier? I can't remember.
yeah, I think so.
Ah, that would be hard for me.
I think. Actually, I
I
can't
don't.
remember.
I don't understand the hatred of the laugh track.
It's
Why
too
would you
much.
put
To
it
laugh
there?
with other
It's
people.
so weird because that was the norm. Like when shows started, comedies came out without laugh tracks. It was like, what are you people doing? This is insane.
Yeah.
You also have
I think
to.
it's just like you're used to it, Al, because you're just older. You know,
quite
like I
possible,
think,
yeah.
People,
You-
no,
like-
they did it in the first place because it was a good idea.
sort of.
No.
But, then it
I'm-
became
but
pretty
I'm
manipulative.
telling you,
like,
yeah,
you get
that
to
I'm
Big
telling-
Bang Theory, and it's like this generation's like, laugh track. That's them trying to tell me when to laugh. And I don't like it.
yeah.
The last show I really watched that had it, I think, was the Drew Carey show, and it started
I
to really
loved that
bother me
show.
because they looped the same laugh tracks. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
at least once per episode, you can hear the guy going like, "What? Hey!" and I'm like, "Just stop!"
I mean,
Like,
there
it
are
actually
shows
made
that
it-
were filmed
made
in
me
front of
grit my
studio
teeth
audiences
to say
too.
that.
Actually, it's
Like
not a
the
laugh
Big Bang
track. It's a
Theory?
laughing audience. Big Bang Theory is a laughing track. I'm pretty sure.
No, they're filmed in front of a studio audience.
Yeah, but they're not funny,
But
so they had
even
to add the
then,
laugh track.
they have to add, yeah.
Is
Says
it
who?
filmed in front of- Who says it's filmed in front of a studio audience?
No, I've seen it before. It is filmed in front of a studio
I
audience.
didn't know that.
I don't find that show funny because I find Sheldon so appalling that it just can't be funny. But that's
It's
because I have
just-
personal problems.
It
It's
just
just
it
so rote.
gets old, I think. Like
It was
you
so
can,
predictable.
yeah.
I'm not
watched a few
defending the Big
episodes.
Bang Theory. I'm just
The-
saying, like,
I think my biggest
That's
problem.
not why it's not funny.
My biggest problem with shows like that is that, like, I'll look, and I get that it's like a fantasy, it's not real or anything, but I'll look, and I lived in that area for a while, and I'm like, no way in could those people afford those apartments.
Well, that was Friends.
Like,
I mean,
yeah, that's
Friends
Friends.
definitely had
Almost
that.
every
Friends
show.
does it. Yeah, exactly, and it just
Which
kind of
TV show besides
like
maybe
sitcoms?
Mr. Robot? I don't remember. Has somebody living in like a studio apartment slightly bigger than a broom closet?
The Office
N-
does that pretty well. Michael's house is not spacious.
Is it?
Yeah.
I guess I'm
Breaking
down to-
Bad did that for a while, and then it became a plot point for Jesse because he inherited that house.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Again, you're talking comedy. Comedy is supposed to be a bit of fantasy. There's also like, again, we're like the way they approached making shows was very different with the 3-station. Like you had to follow their rules or get out. I can't say that phrase anymore because everyone talks about the horror movie. Like you very much had to, like we were talking about, could you drop into the middle of an episode? If there was an overarching plot, frankly, even after the first commercial break, and this actually started to really bug me about old shows, I have a hard time watching them at times. They had to recap the plot
it
after every commercial break.
Oh man, it's hard to watch.
So it's always like, hey, what? Like it's so forced and weird in some of the shows, and it really bothers me now.
But that's because it probably would have really been nice if at the time you were like, well, I can't
understand
rewind.
why they did it. I don't think they were just like, you have to do this weird thing. Like they clearly had a point and they had a reason and it was a good idea. But television's changed so much, and even just like the 15 seconds they take to do that pulls me out a lot of times when I'm watching older TV. And it's time that could be spent, having an awesome comeback from a commercial, or not even have a commercial to begin with. It's just things are products of their time, and it's important to remember that. I think that's my take.
What do you think?
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Do you think that there's something that you could say people are going to look back on in our time and be like, oh man, I can't believe TV shows used to do?
I can't pinpoint it, but yes, of course.
There's
you're gonna
definitely-
do that. That's all of human history.
Yeah,
No, I
they're
was
gonna
just
be
curious
like,
if you had a prediction. That's fine if you don't.
I think they'll be like, why did these characters have gender? No, it's not gonna get that
Oh
bad.
my god, I hope not.
That far. I think
For the love of our
a
life.
small, loud
There will,
population.
yeah, that's a whole different political things change. Like people's understanding of things evolves. That's not what I mean. Like as far as like a procedural, why did they do it this way? Why did they have it broken up into episodes? Maybe.
Possibly,
Netflix
streaming
just
comes
releases
just
like 8 hours of unbroken content.
You can just turn it on and off whenever you want. I think some shots, some like stylized ways some shots are framed are going to be very.
The glare, the
2018.
lens glare.
Yeah, that's possible. It's
But that's
possible,
already being made fun of to the point where it's probably not that big of a thing ananymore.
Probably
Yeah, I think that's
superhero
done.
They're
Yeah.
adding it
movies.
into video games now. I mean, like they're not going to get rid of lens flare ever.
They might.
Yeah, but we're talking about where it's like every single camera angle on the Enterprise has a lens flare for no reason.
But because
I
it
don't think
looks
that's
cool.
going to stick around.
That's one director's style, and that like somebody's always going to
No,
have
but
some
it's
weird
not just
style.
one director. It's like it's a thing now. Is
We're talking
that
about the Enterprise. We're talking about J.J. Abrams.
no? I'm talking, but it's in other stuff now. That's what I'm
The
saying.
lens flare is
that
in other movies besides Star Trek.
Well, it's funny because
You're-
like
why
with
are you
digital,
getting
you
so
don't need.
defensive?
Hey, why are you
so
yelling
funny.
about the lens flare?
He must. Al loves
What?
lens flares, so
Yeah,
it's
this is
a
the-
trigger
this is the
point
weird
for
thing to
him.
say. Of course
You're
it's another thing.
nerve-struck.
You
You're
can't-
getting
yeah.
very,
What points are you
very
making?
loud about lens flare. And I think
Guys,
it's a-
don't take away his lens flares, or else it's going to be a real sad time for
So you're
Al.
not making a point.
I think
You're just
they're
saying
right
this
about
thing
lens flare.
exists. Thank you. Appreciate
And it's
that.
gonna go away.
Yeah, we're saying it's
Yeah,
just weird
it's a
that
fad.
they put
It's
so much on there.
It's the fad that J.J. Abrams started. That
he
people
didn't.
will look back. The way that he did it, 100%. He started
He's the
that
most well
fad.
known for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, in modern-
he's the one who's
Where
like.
do you think
steep-
lens flares come from?
There's a
I'm
flare.
not
flares on
saying
the
that
lens.
lens flares, like J.J. Abrams, like invented it, and he's the sole owner of this idea. What I'm saying is that he made it popular in the Star Trek movies, and I think,
It was in
like
Lost.
you
It
were
was well before Star
asking,
Trek.
is that we, as culture, are going to look back and be like, why the hell
got some lens
did they
flare.
do so much of this? That was my point.
I'm asking. Well, okay, but so you think it's overused in what other movies? What's your?
It was in TV shows. It was in, like you said, games, like all over the place. It was
Yeah,
in
it's
The
like
fact
there's
that it
no
exists is
music
not
videos.
an argument for it being overused.
Yeah, but it shouldn't even be in video games because you don't have a lens for light to go through.
Yeah, and also, just because I don't have exact named examples doesn't mean that I'm not right.
Yeah, we could Google it and find some other examples, but like it is something that got really heavy and then has kind of died off a little bit. It's like you're still going to have lens flares even when it's not necessary.
CG movies should have cinematography?
This has nothing to do. I'm
trying to figure out how that's even related.
Yeah,
because no, listen. If we're modeling the light and we're making it completely from scratch, and it's not actual real light, then why does it matter if it looks like light actually looks in real life?
Because it's distracting from the fact that I'm like, oh, there wasn't a camera here. Why is there a lens flare?
And it's not that there shouldn't be no lens flares. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that...
No, the thing is, there shouldn't be lens flares. They don't, they're not necessary anymore. They were a mistake that was rendered by lenses and cameras back in the day.
Okay, I'm confused as to what your point is, because at first you were saying
You wanted to explain that lens flares were a product of old lenses?
Yeah, physical, they're, what?
And make sure that it was put on the record as being known.
Okay.
This is just one of the hills he's chosen to die on.
Yeah.
But it became a stylistic choice.
Yeah, like a really artistic kind of, like a, I don't know, it became a thing. Oh, there's a creeper right there.
And as far as your thing on, should we do animated stuff with cinematography, it's like, yeah, because you can get impossible angles that are really cool.
Oh, God,
so do what you can't do.
He's gonna blow up, oh my God, Jesus Christ.
But people complain about when people, I've seen... People talk about how that it's better to have, even if it's in a computer, have angles and stuff that you can actually get physically, because if you don't do that, it takes you out of the immersion of the movie.
I think most of the time that's correct, but every once in a while you can throw some flavor in.
This is interesting. What movie do you think is credited with sort of introducing lens flare as... Well, I'll just leave it like that.
As an artistic choice?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a Western. From in the 50s or 60s?
Anyone else wants to posit, I guess?
I'm trying to think.
I know there's some pirate movies that have it as well from, probably back in before the 50s.
I mean, I'm just going off this one article, too, so...
I think Al's probably onto something with the Western. It's a good way of showing, this oppressive heat just staring directly at the sun.
So it's always going to be... So the lens flare initially would have been from the sun looking up at a character, right? So you get a low angle on the character, you're looking up at the sun, and the bright, the extra bright light refracts off the lens and creates that artifact.
This article credits, it says it broke the unwritten rule of no lens flare. Cool Hand Luke. Which I want to ask if anyone's seen Cool Hand Luke.
I need help.
I've heard the
name,
need to pause
but I've never...
This. What?
I need help. A creeper blew up the,
Portal?
No, the ladder going out of the mine.
I guess my larger point is that,
I need someone to bring me a ladder.
I'm coming.
Thank you.
There's always gonna be holdovers from previous things, just like the save icon, right, is a little floppy disk. Even though nobody uses floppy disks anymore, it doesn't mean that we have to get rid of the save icon.
I never said get rid of anything. For the point that you're making, I never said that.
And I'll also point out that this article is titled, let me just try to get this right. We've hit peak lens flare, here's how it started. So it's clearly a thing that has been encroaching more and more into movies.
Yeah, my point is that you asked if there is anything that we were going to look back on and be like, why the hell did they do that so much? And my answer was lens flare. That's all this argument was about. And then it turned into...
Okay, I can disagree with that, though. I can say, no, I think that lens flares will continue to be a feature of films, even if we don't have to have them.
But the stylistic and way that it was, I don't think it will be. Like, laugh tracks was probably perfectly needed at the time, but now it's seen as unnecessary in the way that it is, in the capacity that it is at.
Okay.
You also were getting loud, Albert.
Yes.
It was indignant Albert was making an appearance.
But yeah, because I felt like my opinion was not being listened to.
Yes, but you turned a statement about what do we think. The answer was, what do you think is not going to be used as much in the future, and that you decided to turn that into what do you think is going to be stricken from the record forever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm general, the idea that we should reject all ties to,
no, but no one said that!
No one said that.
If you're saying we're gonna look back and mock it, like
Because
I
it's
think we
used-
definitely will.
okay,
Like, there's-
are
to
you
put in.
saying that we should stop making TV shows with laugh tracks?
I think yes, absolutely.
Okay,
That needs
well,
to be
if
done.
if we're equating it with that, then like
well, no
I
one's
think it's
equating
reason.
it with that. They're two different things.
I said
Yeah, it's just a
things that
similar
people are going to
thing.
look back on and say, why did they do that? Let's like
I think you said, why is that there's so much? That's what I heard.
no, that's
right.
what you heard.
Okay.
Did you put ladder right here?
Yeah, I had ladder left over because I fixed the
No.
ladder that you blew up in the basement.
That's funny,
Have you
thank
found any
you.
monsters down there?
Oh, I can see monsters, but they're not
need
coming
to
down into
tweak
the
this.
hole.
How about Bird Box?
All of us have seen it now,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Yeah.
I rented it. You know why I wound up watching it? Because I was sort of like sleepy and Netflix is like almost turned it on for me. And I was like,
Oh.
okay, I guess I'll watch Bird Box.
This is happening now.
It's fine.
Yeah,
It was,
it's
I mean,
fine.
our review, if anybody's interested in watching Tony and
you did
I's
it for Boozy
review.
Blues, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming out on Wednesday.
So
So
go ahead
probably
and check
2 weeks
that out.
before this comes out.
But it was I don't know. I think my like main point of the review was that it fell short.
Of the
Yeah.
hype, it got too much hype. I was really bothered that her mascara was perfect the whole time.
Probably in her
She seemed like the
Sandra
kind of person who
Bullock's-
would really worry about that, though.
You do it, but her
She's just
hands
getting-
were filthy. Her hands were like disgustingly filthy, and like the kids were all like dirtied up, and then Sandra Bullock is like flawless makeup. I'm like, this is kind of taking me out of this. Especially
Yeah,
because she's
I
wearing a
actually- I didn't
blindfold.
notice.
You can't have perfect mascara when you take off a blindfold.
Yeah.
Not even
no.
wear mascara, but I think that's a thing.
The only time I almost never noticed makeup in movies. The only time I remember noticing makeup in a movie was I remember in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. There's a scene where he goes and sees Peggy, and they've got like a weird pink shade of lipstick on whoever plays Steve Rogers. Anyway, it was
Chris
just
Evans.
like I can tell he's wearing
All of
lipstick.
the Evans.
Chris Evans, yeah. I was like, I don't have a
Said
problem.
that.
Like, it's just, it doesn't seem right for the character, and the fact that I can notice it is just, I wish
Yeah, but
that
I saw
Hello.
Donald Trump put on lipstick once in person, so it's like it happens.
Definitely in front of the camera.
Yeah.
That's not something that Captain America would do before he went to see his sweetheart
definitely
in the
not.
hospital.
Definitely not. He's not wanting to leave those marks on like on her like hand as he kisses it as she dies or something.
That didn't jump out at me, but I know that
I didn't
actors wear
notice
lots
it
of
either,
makeup.
but I'm
and
sure I won't be able to unsee it next time I watch that
I
movie.
also know that there are definitely takes where you're like, it's kind of obvious they're wearing makeup, and I don't think that's the goal of acting makeup for dudes
Yeah.
usually. It's to put makeup on so they don't look like they're wearing makeup.
She
I've
had
noticed.
some time. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
She had some times in Bird Box where like her foundation was like showing, and like you could see the plastic surgery scars. Like it was not a good one for her.
I did that. Yeah, that's sort of. Sandra Bullock looked a little off there.
She
Oh, I
was
thought she
saying
was just
like
supposed to look haggard.
I mean,
Oh.
yeah, but it looked
And
like
cheers.
someone-
she's also like 55 years old or something.
Yeah, it's fine.
So-
She looks
Look at
damn
that
good
dog.
for her
What's
age.
what's
Yeah.
your point about that, Tony?
No, I was just saying like it was noticeable.
She looks like
it
a
was
20-year-old.
Yeah, they were trying
they're
to
trying to
portray
make her
her as
look
like
younger,
an early
yeah.
30s, like
Yeah.
early 30s woman probably, and
I wish I
just
looked as good
doesn't-
as her now. But
Agreed.
yeah, it's like Tom Cruise. Like Tom Cruise has a better surgeon, is what it comes down to.
You don't think it's just because he diets a lot?
I think that it's half genetics and half the fact that he's got a very, very good surgeon.
He has a
and,
team of
and
people.
if you're like, if it's your business and to be that like good looking and take care of yourself, you're gonna take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like
Team
that
of
wasn't.
people who, like, feed
Yeah.
you.
And that wasn't a thing back
Ah!
in the day, and that's why we had like
Oh, no.
older looking people, is because they were like, this wasn't as intense of their business.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think you can still age appropriately as an
I
actor
agree.
or actress.
I also agree with that.
Nothing
like-
happened here, by the way. Nothing to.
I saw somebody complaining about the fact that she hadn't given the kids names, and I thought that was actually perfectly within character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found
that
it
felt
a little
like-
silly. Just because
I-
I don't think you can actually have a pro. I think that would just cause way too much confusion. I guess he has no one to talk to, but
she had the.
There wasn't
the
anybody
other
else
guy.
to get confused with, though.
Yeah.
What the fuck just happened?
I still think you
I
trip
thought
over
that
things.
worked. Like
Oh.
I didn't. I thought it was a little bit sloppy, which was kind of the story of that movie.
Yeah.
Like it was so close to being really
Yeah.
good. Like a few more script revisions probably would have got it there. It was a better version of The Happening but it still wasn't a great version of that
You gotta
idea.
think, other than Sandra Bullock, that movie had to have been cheap as balls to make.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
names.
There were one
what's his face?
location.
Shotgun
Okay,
guy.
John
I'm
Malkovich.
saying, like, from a production
Shotgun guy.
standpoint, it doesn't, like, there's no amazing cinematography.
Those leaves floating around, man. Yeah, they don't have to show a monster or do really anything except have people.
I
Did you see
yeah,
that they actually did make a prototype of a monster for that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird baby looking thing for her.
It's
That
like a
was the
baby old
scariest
man. Yeah, it's a good thing they didn't go with it.
thing. Yeah,
Well,
like that.
I think it's
the-
different for every. Oops.
Yeah,
every
it's different
person.
for every person. Like, every person sees the thing they're most afraid of. And it would be in character that some, like, crazy baby thing would be her greatest fear because it starts out with the movie that way. But it's better not knowing whenever you see what they had.
Ending was so weird.
No, like,
we won't get into
like,
that, but
We
it was just
both, like, Komet and I were talking about how we both knew that was where it was going to end.
Did
Like,
you?
I
Okay,
called
so
it-
this
I
was
called
my
it, like, 10
when I got
minutes in.
there to the ending. Like, I think I told you guys this already. My question before we ever got to the ending was, well, what about
happens? Yeah.
this? For, this
that
situation.
occurred to me, and then I remembered you saying that, and I was like, oh, that's got to be the ending.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Ow,
Like I
the
said, I
ruiner
told
of
you that.
all plot lines.
Well, also, yes, actually, it's a good example of how little bits of information can be spoiler-y. I didn't care. No need to apologize to me. But that was, yes, I agree with what you're saying. But also, like, the character that shows up at the end is like, oh, it's you. I was just like, why the hell are they there? Like, there was
Oh yeah, that was so
Oh,
random
that.
too.
Plus, like, why are they
What is
safe
that even
there?
for? Like,
I don't know. I don't understand why it's safer there either. Like, there's a
Well,
lot.
they can't come inside.
It's like an
They had,
atrium.
they had like an outdoor garden. I felt.
No, it was covered.
It was like an atrium. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
okay.
like a
It had, like,
greenhouse type
I
Then
thing.
think
the
it had
rules of
vines
like
growing.
what counts as inside and what doesn't seemed a little. It seemed like a little airy for. Just
I think it's just
"Oh,
it
just leave
can't
these-"
work locks and doors.
It also didn't seem like they could do anything to you if you just had the blindfold on. Like, why would you even be running scared?
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm just going to wait for you to get bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they
They
don't.
could
but-
do so. That was why the other people were so effective as a
Yeah.
plot point.
Yeah, I can do that. You know what? I felt it felt like a. It really showed signs of being a book that got turned into a movie, because there were plenty of things where I'm like, well, this is just not like the bicycle bell. I was like, that was introduced and used instantly, and probably had a little more depth in the book, or other things like that. Like, it really showed
I
its
think I
signs
got
of.
that book on Audible too. I'm kind of upset about that.
But I've also heard sort of a mediocre book too, so maybe it's just.
You were also very excited to find out there was an actual bird box.
Yes!
Yes.
Good lord! I was like, oh my god, it's actually a box of birds! I thought it was just like a. I don't know.
Like,
like
Yeah, I
you
kind of
know,
wondered about the title too, but
I
they
thought
delivered.
I thought the time jump was really bad too.
Yeah. I'm assuming the book did that. Oh god. Okay, nothing's wrong here. We're all fine. Nothing
What
to
are you
see
working
here.
on, Joe?
Nothing. I'm actually trying to work on the Nether, and I keep causing problems. This is why I don't do this very often.
it seemed like it showed signs of being a book like that wasn't well adapted. Like there were
Yeah.
a number
Why
of
is there an
characters
ender in here? Ah,
that were just.
ah.
I mentioned this to you guys. Also, there was just like some of the characters just left at one point.
I didn't mind that, again, though I knew that was going to happen, so I wasn't, like, waiting for them to come back, but
Where did it go?
I've seen that before, and it seemed like, okay, some of these people could... It seemed like a decision some people might make, and I was sort of okay with that.
Yeah. Take
But I
the
guess-
It
car
just seemed like
that
there were
has,
so many of them that I didn't care about like any of them.
It was more the car than them, I think.
Yeah.
Also...
Take the way of transport without needing to see. Yeah, you know, like done and done.
But
They
also,
didn't
yeah,
use that very often though.
No,
They had that
that's the
car
thing.
with the GPS, and they like
used it
never they don't
once
go
and then it
outside
got
with like
stolen.
I
strings
think
at
it was
all.
stolen
Which
like the next day, but
Yeah.
again, it's also like you have the time. You're in a 2-hour movie. Every little thing you do should count and be weighty, because that's what a good movie is. So like, and okay,
I guess
that's
they
an
did have
okay
strings.
thing. Is something you can do in a book that's 400 pages, where you can have a little more depth and time to develop something like that. But it could have been done differently. They could have, yes.
That's one of the things a movie can do well is you can show things just in the background to build the world.
No, you can't show anything.
especially not lens flares.
What?
I said especially not lens flares.
Oh, lens flares.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is Let's Players.
Yeah,
I would
know
have
that's
loved
weird.
like this would I know A Quiet Place already did this kind of, but if they just dropped into like here we're in the world of Bird Box and like showed that by they've got a car with the windshield blacked out and
Yeah, it could have been an ensemble movie instead of Sandra Bullock's story. I think might have been a better choice for a movie, partly because of what Al said. It was just too fast. Like, I didn't care. I was like,
and then like there's a character who plays a jerk, and you're like, okay, I get that you play a jerk, but like I actually don't like you.
He did a very good job, though. I gotta say.
And then the characters also like him, and so it's like, well, plus he has reason for being a little angry.
Like in the book, I'm sure
it's
that
more nuanced.
Yeah, he actually becomes like a character that you kind of like at one point.
Yeah, he was just a blatant. Yeah, like I liked the interplay they had between him and Bullock at one point, like when they're sharing a drink and everything. Like that was fine.
That was fine, but it was also weird because it's like, okay, you have this character you build up to be hated, and then it's like, oh, but wait, we like him.
It's probably because that's what's in the book.
Yeah, again, it shows signs of like, well, this is in the book, so we should do this, but not really well. We are way over on time. We can discuss Bird Box in the next few hours, too.
Yeah.
Al, sign us out.
Thank you guys for watching. If you like this, don't forget to click on that like button over on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And you can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/humanechoes. And you'll get these a whole week earlier than everybody else. Be special. Be cooler than your friends. Be a patron.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Remember, if you like what you've been watching, you can become a member over at Patreon right now. The link is right in your face, and you will get all kinds of cool stuff.